welcome to Band Geek. I'm Richie Castellano. Joining me today is my co-host Jarrett Prespin.
Hello.
Hello. So, you guys asked for it, and we're gonna give it to you. Okay, so there was a new film that just came out that is related to the other films that I'm a fan of. Somehow, it's loosely related to the other films that I'm a fan of. Okay. First of all, this episode will contain spoilers. This is a Band Geek review of Star Wars, a
Han Solo story.
Yeah, a Star Wars story. That's what it is. Yeah, yes, I have seen it.
Guys.
Okay, well, so here's what we're gonna do. I heard another show do this, and I thought it was a good idea.
Oh, great.
Let's
just copy them.
Yeah. No, they do like a non-spoiler part of the review and then do a spoiler part of the review.
Oh, I see.
So if you haven't seen the movie, we're not going to give anything away. And then we'll say, okay, now this is the spoiler section, and we're going to give it away. We're going to have more people on the show, but no one wanted to talk to us about this. So
they're like, look, we've been hearing you complain about this for a week. We don't want to, immortalize it on the internet.
So, another thing I wanted to mention before we get started is that there are people that have been asking us to do movie reviews, and there are people that hate us for doing movie reviews because we can't make everybody happy. I understand that the underlying theme of the show is music, but it's band and geek, and this is our geek quotient for the show. For those of you that like this stuff, great. For those of you who don't, I'm sorry, and we'll keep trying to do the music stuff, but we're going to see what I'm doing is I'm being nice to people that like what we do instead of yelling at them, which is something that maybe Lucasfilm could learn from.
Yeah. This is a very vague segue into the Star Wars expanded universe.
But we are getting back to music, and if you need your Band Geek music fix, I do my streaming solo show no relation, believe me, no relation. I tried to make my solo shows good. If you want to watch my streaming solo shows on Wednesday nights on youtube.com/Richie Castellano, twitch.tv/bandgeekmusic, or my Facebook page, which I now have an official URL for. It's facebook.com/RichieCastellano.bandgeek. I know it's a mouthful, but that's all I had. Instead of, RichieCastellano.2738, which is what it was.
Yeah, but then you sound like a Star Wars character.
Yeah, I do. Yes, and also we should probably take care of a little business right now. If you like the show and you want to keep supporting Band Geek, you can use our tip jar. That's RichieCastellano.com/tipjar. It's a PayPal form from our partner site, Streamlabs, and it's totally safe, and we appreciate if you want to contribute to the show. If you use Amazon, go to riotcast.com/bandgeek, and you do your Amazon shopping like normal, but then when you check out, a small percentage of your purchase goes to supporting our show, and it doesn't cost you anything extra. Also, I think we still have Band Geek merch. bandgeek.merchtable.com. You can get these nifty hats and t-shirts and show your Band Geek love in public. So there you go. That's what the hat looks like. And the shirt is very cool too. I have both, and I guess I'm a narcissist, and I like wearing my face on my chest.
Oh, I wear our shirt at the gym. Nothing says like working out of the gym by having your face on your chest when you're doing it.
He's like running, goes, "This is what I looked like 30 pounds ago."
And if you didn't notice, if you look at Richie's like live streaming gigs or any of the older videos, the Band Geek shirt, his guitar strap perfectly framed over my face. We did that on purpose.
Yep. Intentional.
Yep.
Okay, so basically, let's get into the non-spoilerific version of the review here. So, Jarrett, what did you think of the movie Solo: A Star Wars? I did see it. Solo: A Star Wars Story. No spoilers.
I'm giving it 1 parsec out of 12.
Really?
It's just right up there with The Last Jedi for me.
Do it from like a 1 to 10, like 1 out of 10. No, 1 to 10.
1 to 10.
Yeah, like 10 being like this is Spinal Tap, and 1 being The Room.
It's whatever. Go back and rewatch our review for The Last Jedi. Whatever I give The Last Jedi, I'm giving this, because it's like, I think it was like a 5 or a 4 or something, because it was just, it's set in the Star Wars universe, cool, but just we'll get into it, but yeah.
Initially, when I saw it, now let me back up for a second with The Last Jedi. My review, I liked The Last Jedi when I first saw it, and then like I bought it on video, and after subsequent views, my opinion of it has gone down. Just because I just watch it, and my feelings about it are like, oh, why'd you do that?
We should do movie reviews a year later after we watched them on Blu-ray a couple times, because our Justice League review would go way down.
Oh yeah. That movie's a flaming turd. So. My initial, like my friend Terry, the guy who runs the Saber Guild, he asked me like, oh, what'd you think? Because he loved it. He's like, 1 to 10, and my first thing was like 3, and he was like, wow. And then I thought about that, like, no, that's too harsh. I'm like, because like technically speaking, it was done very competently.
Yeah.
So I'm giving it a 5 out of 5 as well.
5 out of 5 or
5 out of 10? Sorry, 5 out of 10. Because, I really didn't have any issues with it, per se, but, like technically speaking.
Yeah, okay.
It was well done, but I just didn't care.
I have to agree with that. Yeah. It's not that I didn't hate it. I didn't loathe it. It's not like, oh, this is why did they do this? I hate it. I'm never going to watch it again. Yeah. But I just didn't enjoy it.
Our friend, Opinionated Adam, who was on our show, who just had a kid. Congratulations, Adam, if you're watching.
Yeah, his wife front pooped a human, so good for her.
He said to me, what do you think going to Solo? I was like, I don't know. Like, I want it to be awesome, but I have a feeling it's not going to be awesome. And he's like, well, what if you like are meh about it and like are apathetic about it and sort of don't care? I'm like, that's not going to happen. This is Star Wars. I only deal in hyperbole. It's either going to be the best movie of all time or the worst one.
Oh, there's no middle ground.
But he kind of nailed it. Like, at first I was like, this sucks, but I was like, no, this sucks because it didn't blow me away. There was like really nothing wrong with it. It just like it didn't hit me here where these movies do.
I want to be impressed. I was saying that to you like the week leading up to us going to see it. Like I was just like impress me. Like we're going into this movie with expectations, and because of all the publicity and stuff behind it and all the which I want to talk about later, but it was just like, look, impress me. Like, if you impress me, like, I'll be like, oh, wow, I completely, my bad. Like, but it just didn't. Like, it lived up to the zero expectations that I had.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like I went in, I always, like, with each movie, I did this with the prequel trilogy, is I tried to go in a different way for each one. It's like, for this movie, I'm going to watch the trailers. For the next movie, I'm not going to watch the trailers. For this one, I'm going to be super excited. For this one, I'm going to, and I thought, like, okay, I went into The Force Awakens being super excited, was let down. I went into The Last Jedi expecting, like, having low expectations.
Right.
And I was let down because it didn't even exceed my low expectations.
Right.
And I went to this one saying, this is probably going to suck, right? And then I thought it did suck, and then I was like, okay, I'm trying to, like, what is the best outcome where I can like this? And a lot of my friends are saying to me, like, you just don't want to like it. I was like, no, I'm very upset that I don't like it because, and that's another thing that I wanted to talk about on this. It's like, people telling me, like, oh, you don't really like Star Wars. You don't like these movies.
Right.
Like, that's why, please don't lecture somebody that they don't like something because they're passionate about it. Like, this is what fandom is. You're passionate about something. You have a strong opinion about it. If you're just, like, sort of willy-nilly and can be like, oh, cool, another Star Wars movie, there's Millennium Falcon again. Oh, right. Cool. Right? Like, then maybe you're a casual fan. And there's nothing wrong with that.
Right.
That's fine. To just like sort of have a passing interest in it, but like I feel like I've liked this stuff since I'm like a toddler. You know what I mean? Like this has been a big part of life for me is my fandom for this. Now, yes, it's sad for a 38-year-old man admitting this, but like whatever. Everybody's got the stuff that they're into. Like
and it's not a like you destroyed my childhood. Stop killing everything.
No,
it's not that at all. It's just I want to go to the movies. I want to be entertained, and when it's something like Star Wars that we've enjoyed for so long, and you go and you're like, oh man, I didn't really. All right, I guess I didn't enjoy this one. Like, you're not going to enjoy every single one. I would assume it's the same thing when you follow a sports team.
Oh man, no, we can't even go there.
And then the hitters and the baseball squadron have a bad match. No, but I gotta assume it's like that. It's like you're a diehard, Mets fan, and it's like, man, they're doing really crappy this year, but you still like the Mets. So it's the same thing.
Well,
or a very weird parable, but still.
Yeah, but like that's the point. Like, okay, so say you're a person who is super judgmental on grown men who are still into this sort of thing. Like, think about the thing that you like, that you're passionate about it, and just replace that with this. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, and when things are happening in that whatever your entertainment of choices that you don't really agree with, and it's changing the course of it for good, you will probably have a strong opinion about it.
Right.
And that's another thing I want to talk about too. Please remind me. Is I want to talk about the boycott, because we kind of did our own little boycott of it.
Yeah.
Like you and me are opening night guys, and we said, you know what?
Yep.
After Last Jedi, I'm not doing that anymore. Like, I have to, like, even though that's, like, so, before we even went, I felt ridiculous saying it. Like, there was like, so, you going to see a Solo opening night? I was like, no, I'm not. I'm going to wait till the second week, because, like, I love Star Wars, but if they're doing something with it, in general, that I don't like, the only way I could do anything about it is with my wallet.
Yeah.
Like, you can vote with your wallet. And everybody was like, that's ridiculous. Like, do you really think that you not going is going to make a difference?
Right.
And
it did, actually.
And it did after. I'm like, holy crap. Like, not me, but a lot of people had the same sort of, ideas I did.
Yeah, for those that don't know, like this, I always find the term flop or bombing at the box office weird, because you're like, that movie made $80 million. How is that bombing? That's a lot of money. Mm-hmm. But when you have a movie that cost $300 million to make, and they don't make like half of it back in the opening weekend, especially when it's Star Wars, that hurts the studio.
Star Wars is supposed to be a bulletproof franchise. Basically, if you hit the marks, even if the movie, even if the movie's sort of underwhelming to you, it's still going to be a good time, and it's still going to, do well.
Yeah.
But I think what's happening is it's stopped hitting the marks, and it's not bulletproof anymore. And this sort of made the god bleed. Everybody can see there's weakness here, and Star Wars is not impervious to, all the problems that other franchises have.
Right.
Like, the quality of the product still needs to be good. Now, am I saying it's not good?
Sorry.
No, I'm not saying it's not good. I'm saying I didn't like it, and I think it's an important distinction to make. Like I said, it was very well done, competently done, well acted, everything. But it just didn't do anything for me, and that's part of what I'm struggling with.
Right.
But I think that pretty much ends. Oh, one more thing I want to say in the spoiler-free section here is that, going into the movie, John Kasdan, who was, I guess, Lawrence Kasdan's son, who co-wrote the movie with him, he went on Twitter and wrote this thing about saying how he's not sorry about bringing identity politics into the Star Wars franchise.
Right.
And when I saw that, I'm like, oh great, now I'm going to have a movie with Hollywood politics shoved down my throat the whole time. And I'm happy to report, if you haven't seen the movie yet and you were worried about that, it's really not that big of a deal. And look, I hate when movies do that, when it's heavy-handed and you can see it. Like
The Last Jedi and the whole space horse
The Last Jedi
section
is way more heavy-handed than Solo. Solo, it's like a couple of awkward, clumsy lines sort of shoehorned in that don't affect anything.
Right.
So if you're worried about going and say, I don't want to I just want to see Star Wars, I want to have a good time, I don't want to have this be politicized, it really wasn't that big of a deal. So and this is from someone who hates that stuff. So that's what I'll say. But I do think that was just a distraction. That was a cover your bases thing. So hear me out on this. So if I go on the internet and I tell everybody, this movie I just made is super politically charged, right? And then it does well, it's like, well, it did well because it's super politically charged and it's on the message. This is what people want.
Right.
If it does poorly, I could say, oh, it's those crazy people, those crazy alt-righters are boycotting the movie, and this is why it's doing bad. So at first I was like, why would you even tweet something like that? Why would you alienate like half your audience?
Right.
You know, and then after I saw the movie, I was like, oh, I get it. That's like a cover your ass moment where it's like, oh, if the movie does bad, it's not my fault. It's these crazy people who don't agree with it. But
you did this.
So that's more. So if you read that tweet like me and got sort of turned off, you still see it because you might like it because that's not even a big part of the movie.
Right.
And a lot of people like it.
Right.
And I almost feel like there's a conspiracy because like me and you were like, what the hell did we just watch? Right. And everyone's like, what do you mean? It's good.
Right.
Shut your stupid face. So, like, is there a conspiracy?
This isn't stupid.
No, but you know what I mean? Like, I feel like, why is it... Did we just watch the same movie?
I mean, and again, and I've always said the same thing. Like, these are our opinions. These are our thoughts on it. Are we trying to sway you and be like, jump on our bandwagon? You know, you should hate it too. It's never like that. Something is always somebody's favorite something. I know that's very general.
Yeah.
But like, I make a kind of a joke out of it. But like, somewhere somebody's like, you know what my favorite television show is? Yeah. Rizzoli and Isles. And you're like, what? Why? But like, I'm not gonna put somebody down for that. I might think it's silly, but if somebody's like, no, Solo's my favorite Star Wars movie, it's like, right on. Why? Like, I might be curious, and I might, you know, chat. Like, I might, you know, kind of, you know, make fun of it a little bit, but like, I wouldn't physically be like, you're stupid for that opinion.
It's fun to do that. I'm sort of trying not to do that because Amory, who couldn't be on the show, she really liked Solo, and she was like, after the movie, she sat next to me and just heard me like groaning the whole time. And after the movie, when the credits came up, she was like, "Don't." And I said, "Okay, all right." That's probably why she couldn't be here today. She didn't want to deal with this crap.
Yep.
But okay.
So, all right, let's get into it.
So spoilers, right here. This is the spoiler section. Spoilers. If you haven't seen the movie, don't. No, if you haven't seen the movie, don't bother. No, if you haven't seen the movie and you are planning on going to see the movie, don't watch any further or pause this, go to your local theater, come back, then watch it, and then look at how much we hate it or how big of jerks we are. Okay, so this movie takes place after Revenge of the Sith. I'm not really sure how long.
I'm not sure the time.
Well, actually, we know because of the big reveal at the end.
Right, okay.
Because we know where that happens within the timeline.
Right.
But, actually, no, we don't know. We don't know.
No, he had... So, later on, again, this is spoilers, and it's going to be all out of, you know...
out of order.
Out of order and out of context. But they did a thing towards the end of the film where Kira... hang on. Kira... Hi, I'm Amelia Clark. I'm never not going to be the mother of dragons.
Wait, you bought an action figure for her?
This is most of the movie.
Why did you buy the action figures?
Because I'm supporting the franchise in a very weird way. I don't know. They were in the bargain bin already.
Really?
She was $4 and he was $6.
Okay.
So, yeah. All right. So, you find out later that she's working for the Crimson Dawn. Is that what it is?
I guess.
Crimson Dawn. And the leader of the Crimson Dawn is Darth Maul.
Yes.
Now, you might be saying, Richie, didn't he die in Episode 1, that movie I hate?
First of all, Episode 1 gets better every time you watch it.
I like Episode 1.
I'd say in about 10 to 20 years... people are going to be saying Episode 1 is so great because of the constant stream of crap that Disney keeps releasing. It gets, like, I was having this discussion, I think, with Eric, right? And he goes, oh, but you like those prequels. I said, think about it. Every single movie, the mean of like the average of what is good and what is bad, the prequels keep moving up. Every time Disney releases a new movie, the prequels get better and better and better.
And I've been on board with the prequels since they came out.
Yeah, I'll make no mistake. I'm not gonna try to hide it. I love the prequels. I like most of the prequels better than the original trilogy. I mean, I like
right.
No, it's like about even. I like it. You know what the thing is? I like Star Wars. I like that 6-film story.
Yeah.
I'm really into that story. I like the whole thing, beginning to end. So, like, really, I can't say that, oh, I don't like Return of the Jedi, or I don't like Attack of the Clones. Like, no, that's part of this complete story that, like, you can jump into it at any part.
Right.
And to me, it works. You know what I mean? What these new movies do is they're, like, inserting themselves in that, and sort of like screwing with things a little bit.
So for the first time since The Force Awakens, we have now been connected slightly to the prequel trilogy, which was not being acknowledged very well.
Yeah.
And the expanded cartoon universe.
Yes.
The Clone Wars and Rebels.
All right, so here's a meta spoiler, a spoiler within a spoiler. If you haven't watched Clone Wars and the animated Clone Wars, which is like what, 8 seasons or something?
Something like
it's
that.
Like ridiculous. Or Rebels, right? If you haven't watched either of those,
which is 4 seasons, I think.
Cover your ears for the next minute, because I'm going to bring everybody up to speed on how that works. That Darth Maul, who died, who was cut in half by Obi-Wan Kenobi in Phantom Menace, how he's back.
Right.
Okay, starting now. So what happened is, fueled by his dark side rage, he sustained himself and ended up in a garbage. Like scow or something like that, and was dumped off-world onto like a trash planet. And basically he went insane, and his like dark side power sustained him, and he became this like weird spider thing.
Well, didn't he like lose his memory for a while too?
Yeah,
he didn't know who he was, and
he lost his mind and was like, and he sort of like something happened where he became like this garbage spider, where he had like spider legs.
Right.
He was this hideous monster.
He got robotic legs, and
right.
Yeah.
And Darth Maul has a brother who's
Larry Maul.
Savage Opress.
Savage Opress.
Voiced by Clancy Brown.
I know, but it's like that's one of the best Star Wars names.
Savage Opress. But so Savage gets a mission, I think, from Count Dooku. He becomes like Dooku's secret apprentice. And he's also like working with the Night Sisters of Dathomir or something.
Yeah.
And he gets this mission to go find Maul. And he comes across Maul, he's in bad shape, and he brings Maul back to the planet Dathomir, which I think Maul's supposed to be from. And there's a Night Sister who uses the Force, but is sort of like a wizard, like a sorceress or something.
Yeah, and the Night Sisters are like kind of like Jedi witches.
Yeah, right. And they use their powers to give Maul, like, basically they take a bunch of like metal parts from like machinery, and through magic they rebuild his legs. Right. So he has these like robot legs, and then he gets his mind back. So he gets his mind back, and he tells his brother, who saved his ass, tells his brother, "I'm the master, you're the apprentice."
Yeah.
Right? And he builds a lightsaber, and he uses his old half of the lightsaber for a while.
Yeah, and then and it doesn't.
So that's sort of like a side plot of the story of the show Clone Wars, and him and his brother are like trying to take over the galaxy. So eventually, Darth Maul becomes the leader of Mandalore. He defeats the leader of Mandalore. He gets the dark saber, which is like the black lightsaber, and he rules Mandalore. Mm-hmm. That is until he gets a little too big, because Darth Maul was doing everything sort of in secret for a while, and then once he takes over Mandalore, obviously he's a big deal.
Yeah, that's a big thing in the television universe, that everything does everything in secret, because they kind of didn't want to go against the film franchises, because all this stuff started happening even before Disney bought.
Right, this is still Lucas.
This is still Lucasfilm, so they were just like, no, it's going to be over here, and he's doing stuff in secret. That's why, like, Ahsoka Tano, who was Anakin's secret apprentice, like, she was, like, acknowledged there.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, you couldn't have a secret. Like, we never mentioned a secret apprentice. Like, how could that work? But now they're all starting to mush together. So.
Right. That's weird, though, that, like, I get that. But that's weird that, like, this is Anakin's Padawan, who he spent, like, years with, and never a mention of him ever.
Of course.
But you could say that once he became Darth Vader, he doesn't talk about any of that stuff anymore.
Right.
So anyway,
but so Maul, so then Maul gets his mind back, and
he becomes a little too high profile, and then Sidious finds out and goes to Mandalore by himself and kicks the crap. He kills Maul's brother. He kills Savage and beats the crap out of Maul, and Maul somehow gets away or is spared. They sort of cut away.
No, I don't. Yeah, you don't really. Yeah, it's not really clear. And then
Maul shows up again in Rebels. As an older guy and who's sort of lost his mind, and he has this new lightsaber, the one you saw at the end of Solo,
right?
Which is like this hook thing, which is like supposed to be a cane, because he's like the old crazy guy again, and he becomes the main character of Rebels, like Sith teacher,
right?
So the main character of Rebels, Ezra Bridger, has like a Jedi teacher and a Sith teacher, and then he sort of like has to deal with having those two ideologies,
right?
But eventually Maul bites it. And super duper spoilers. Obi-Wan Kenobi. Maul's goal is to track down Obi-Wan because he never, forgave him. He still holds a grudge, obviously.
Right.
So he tracks down Obi-Wan on Tatooine and finds out that he's protecting Luke Skywalker and goes to kill him. And Obi-Wan it was a beautifully done scene in the episode Twin Sons of Rebels. And it's like an old school samurai battle, but in animation. It was really well done.
Yeah.
So that's the end. Okay, we're back. It's the end of spoilers for that, of why Darth Maul is back.
Yeah, so for most people, when you see that in the movie, at the end of Solo, you're like, who's that guy from episode 1? Like, how did he get back? Because a lot of people who watch the films don't watch the television.
Right.
Programs. Programs. They don't watch my stories. And, yeah, they really just don't. It's a very weird connection to make, and you would think that when I saw it, I wanted to be happy about that. I was like, huh, man, they're gonna screw this up.
Well, I thought it was like really funny because I kind of saw it coming, and I wasn't even spoiled.
Really?
I was just like, because I was thinking like. Okay, for example, Rogue One, which I thought was good.
By the way, I enjoyed Rogue One a lot, actually.
But I don't have any... Like, I thought it was like, okay, this is a movie that didn't really do anything for me. Doesn't have to exist. It was really fun. It was well done. I really haven't rewatched it again because I just have no desire to. But, like, for me, the only good part of Rogue One is when Darth Vader shows up. And it's like, because that's like, oh my god! So they had this movie that was, like, good... Like, how can we, like, push this over the cliff?
Right.
Okay, we'll have this scene of Darth Vader massacring rebels, right? And that totally pushed that movie over the cliff. However, this movie, it's like, was meh. And they're like, what can we do to, like, unmeh this a little bit?
Right.
Like, oh, I know. We'll do the character that everybody wants back, and we'll just bring him back and offer no explanation to why he's here. And then the funniest thing for me was he was like, you and I are going to be working closely together.
Is
that how you end phone calls? Like,
just turn on your lightsaber for no reason? Well, you do.
Yeah, I do. You and I are going to be working closely together. Wait, shit, I didn't time that right. You and I are going to be working closely together. And it was like, oh my god, they had to show the lightsaber just to let people know it's Darth Maul. That was the stupidest thing.
I just think, like when you can't find the red end button on your cell phone, he was like, we're going to be working closely to... Oh, I'm sorry, did I turn on my light? I meant to hit end. Why aren't you end... What? Like, Snapchat? No, I just... Come on.
No.
Sorry, wrong. Whatever. But yeah, so it was a weird turn in a very, like you said, like a very meh movie. But I want to
let's get back to that.
I want to jump back because
Go.
The main issue that I had with this is that you're showing us characters that we already have an established vision of, and like we don't know their entire history, but we're kind of cool with that.
Yeah.
And now you're trying to force yourself into their history and be like, oh, that's how he got his blaster. Like, oh, why couldn't Han Solo's blaster just be a blaster? Like, why? Because it's his blaster and it just happens to be the gun he carries around all the time. I'm talking about the dice. So
go right into it. Go, buddy.
I'm going to talk about the dice. So in the beginning of the movie, Han Solo and Kira, okay, these guys are all like, I want to get out of here. And she's like, we can leave and never come back. I'm Kira. And it's making me mad that this is like, look at my belt and my pants. I'm Han Solo. Like, if you put me in these clothes and put me next to Chewbacca, I'd look like Han Solo too. But yeah, so they're trying to get off their planet of Corellia, and they steal a car, and they throw dice in on the rear view mirror, and those are the dice that you are made aware of in The Last Jedi that are in the Millennium Falcon in A New Hope, but nobody cares. Like, you're trying to make it like
you're injecting meaning into things that don't really have it in the first place.
And then you have like Force Awakens, where they're like, here's Luke's lightsaber. And you're like, oh my god, where did you get this? And she's like, a story for another time. No, it's a story for right now.
Yeah.
No, it's cool. How about we do a whole movie about his dice?
Oh my god, why did you tell me that? You just made me, you know what? 4 out of 10. 4 out of 10 just for that. Why did you say that to me? And now you made me hate this movie.
I didn't do it. Kathleen Kennedy did it. Look, you guys. I have the worst movie. No, I have the worst movie. Look, everybody, we can all say we have the worst Star Wars movie. This is why I bought these.
Oh my god.
All right, everybody, move along.
Hey, I'm going to be in every movie forever for the end of time.
So
they're going to keep bringing me back.
Oh my god. So they're focusing and I'm not exaggerating. They framed Han Solo's dice like 14 times in like the first 10 minutes of that movie. And then they get separated at the airport at customs or whatever. And then Han
had TSA pre.
He had pre-check. Excuse me, I'm gonna tweet that. So they do that, and then they do the thing which we were like, maybe they won't do it in this movie. They're doing a movie about Solo. It doesn't necessarily have to be connected to the Empire. And it's like, you know what? I'm going to join the Empire. And it's like, we're part of the Empire. This is for the good of the galaxy. It's like, stop talking about the Empire. We don't care about the Empire. And
then all of a sudden he's like Vito Corleone. You're like, what's your last name?
Yeah.
It's just Han.
Yeah.
You don't have a last name? No. Han Solo.
Yeah.
It's like Vito from Corleone. Oh, you're Vito Corleone.
You know what? I just realized that Snoke says it exactly the same way in Force Awakens.
Really?
Your father, Han Solo. Maybe he's the guy at TSA. He's
the TSA agent.
We just solved a Star Wars mystery.
He created this problem.
Yeah, but so they do that, and then they introduce Woody Harrelson and Maeve from Westworld, and
Thandie Newton.
And
Thandie.
Thandie, and
I love Thandie Newton. What a stupid part she had in this movie.
And it's just like, I'm a rebel. It's like, you've been a rebel for 3 years in the Imperial Army, and like you're just like, oh, I don't agree with you, sir. I don't want to fight on this planet. Like, we're the invaders. It's just they're trying to give him this history, and then they're just like pigeonholing it into this tiny little frame of time that they can. Like, if they had made Han Solo like 15 and he was in like a gang of crime runners and stealing cars and stuff like that,
like they did with Last Crusade.
Yes,
that worked.
Yes,
because this is not the first time we've seen something like this in Harrison Ford Lucasfilm movie.
Right.
Like, they did this quite successfully with Last Crusade. It's the whole opening of the movie.
And it's great.
It's amazing, because he's far enough away in age. And that's look, everybody keeps telling me, like, this shouldn't be a problem for you, that the guy doesn't look right. I'm like, why the hell not? Should that not be a problem? Why shouldn't that be a problem? Every other movie tries to make it look right and sound right.
Yeah.
Like, Star Trek did it with Carl Urban, even though I hate those movies. It's just like, Carl Urban did his homework. Like, Ewan McGregor did his homework. It's far enough away.
All right, and then let's talk about that for a sec. So you have a like Han Solo, younger Han Solo.
Right.
The time doesn't match up because somebody wouldn't look that different in like the 8 years or whatever in between that and A New Hope and whatever. But you had Ewan McGregor, who played a younger Obi-Wan Kenobi, but Obi-Wan Kenobi is supposed to be like 70.
Yeah.
You know, in A New Hope, and then and then he's like in his 30s and 40s, like, you know, or even younger than that, or maybe he's supposed to be like 60.
I think he's like in his mid 60s in A New Hope, and I think in Revenge of the Sith, I think he's like my age. I think he's like 35 or 36, or like around there.
Sure, but so it's not saying that you can't do that. My problem is, why did you do that? Like, again, I enjoyed Rogue One. Rogue One goes in between Revenge of the Sith and A New Hope. Goes in between 3 and 4.
Rogue One was very careful not to move the furniture around.
Right.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, Rogue One had a yoga class in the middle of your living room, but Rogue One was like, okay, I'll just put this mat over here, and I'm not going to move your lamp. And you just go in the corner there. Don't touch the TV.
Right.
Whereas the Solo was sort of like, you know what I mean? Let's just, you know.
Speaking of Indy, did you get a lot of Indiana Jones vibes from Solo? I say that in the sense of like all the romantic scenes with Kira felt Indy-ish, not Han-ish. Like I could hear the way he was talking to like the way he was talking to Marion, talking to like Kira, and then like, you shouldn't trust anybody, and it's like, you should have taken my advice. Like it's Last Crusade.
Interesting.
Like there was all these weird like parallels to it, and then you like they tried to make you. They killed Tandy Newton, and they killed that other guy, the little small alien guy.
Yeah.
Like 40 minutes into the movie, and like tried to make you care about them, but it's like, I don't care about Han. Why do I care about these guys?
Okay, I think the big issue here, and maybe you and I are on the same page. Like for me, Han was never Han's a side character to me.
Yeah.
I mean, like it's the story of the Skywalker family, and almost in The Force Awakens, he becomes a main character because he's now part of that family.
Right.
He marries into that bloodline. You know what I mean? So it's like so I guess he becomes that, but. You know, in the original trilogy, like, I was never about Han. I was about Obi-Wan Kenobi, Luke Skywalker, Princess Leia. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
that's what it's about. But, you know...
I do like the fact that one of our favorite lines from Force Awakens was mentioned here, too, which you may or may not have noticed. In Force Awakens, he goes, some moof milker changed the compression coil or whatever it is. And then did he call Chewie a moof milker?
He said it again, but it's like they're calling back to themselves now.
I thought that was funny. Like that's something I enjoyed. But then they kept, so they do that casually, and then they're like, "Yep, I got a deal planned with some crime family on Tatooine, like a big gang on Tatooine."
I want to get to that in a second because
I know we're jumping all over the place.
But the point I was trying to make was that to some people, Han is like the big deal of that movie,
right?
Of the original trilogy. Like it's about Han, you know, who is this smuggler who goes on this adventure and gets sort of caught up with this whole, you know, battle that's been going on for 1,000 years,
right?
So, and that's probably why people who are huge Han Solo fans love this. And for me, I'm like, why are we talking about this?
Right.
It's like, let's get back, and that's an issue I'm having. It's that like the term I'm hearing used to describe Solo is low stakes Star Wars. It's low stakes. Nothing is affecting the whole galaxy that he does.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Right. This was a
little side story. It's a side quest. You know what I mean?
Right.
Is all it is this little side quest, and that's it. Like it's not. It's like it's not shaping the lore. It's not shaping the universe. It's just this little story. It's a Star Wars story.
Right.
And on that, like within those parameters, I'd say sure, you did a great job. You know what I mean? Like it's a Star Wars story.
Right.
But for me, it's like that's something that I wouldn't mind watching on television. You know what I mean? It's like also like why screw with making it like that? You know what? I think I would have enjoyed this movie more even if it took place in the same time period, right? But it had nothing to do with Han Solo, and Han Solo was just like a cameo. You know what I mean? Like they run into Han Solo, and it's like, oh look, and then they can either CG some guy,
right,
or get that kid Anthony and Gruber who actually looks like Harrison Ford to do it.
Yeah, when you're done watching this, or if you haven't already turned it off, yeah, what is his name? Anthony
and Gruber.
Anthony and Gruber. Look him up on YouTube, and just type in Anthony and Gruber, Harrison Ford, and there's like 3 or 4 videos, and it's just him doing Harrison Ford, but he's got everything nailed. And again, we're not saying that you have to do like a shot for shot, like or a note for note interpretation of Harrison Ford, but you're just like, I'm Harrison Ford. Look at my belt.
Yeah, but that's like when I am debating this with people, the main thing they say is you just can't get over it because he doesn't look like Harrison Ford. I'm like, well, why doesn't he look like Harrison Ford?
Right.
Why not? If you're gonna also, if he's playing 19 and you're getting a 29-year-old guy to play 19,
yeah,
that doesn't work. It just doesn't work, and it didn't work for me, and it kept pulling me out of it. Like I kept being like, who the hell is this guy supposed to be?
Right.
Throughout the whole movie, I'm like this, and I'm trying to like sort of like squint, or not squint, but like just like manage my expectations to just be like, okay. And I was like, but this is not him. This like it's here's what it was. This was a fan film. I felt like I was watching like a Bat in the Sun superpower beatdown.
Right.
Which those are great, but those are fan films.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like I felt because when you watch one of those, there's like some guy like, hey, I'm Superman, and you go like, well, okay.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But
on the flip side, however, you and I agreed that Donald Glover as Lando nailed it.
Now that's called doing your homework and being good. Like, okay, well, look, not that. What the hell's the guy's name? Alden.
Alden. We don't even know Han Solo's name. Yeah. Alden Emmerich.
Yeah, whatever his name is.
Yes, let's go with that.
He was fine, but it's just like
you were a bad Solo, Aiden.
Why did? But it's all over the place because now you have one character who's really dialed in. Like Lando is just so dialed in, and then you have this other guy who's not dialed in. So what are we doing here? Like, how come it's okay for one guy and not okay for another?
Right.
Or then, like, why not make Lando different? Not that I loved that Lando was right. And
yeah.
And I'm not saying I hated everything in the movie. I loved the Chewbacca stuff.
Yeah.
Chewbacca looked exactly the same.
Yeah, I know. It's weird how they got the exact an actor that could be Chewbacca.
They had that hair
problem. There's a Wookiee. They found a Wookiee that looked identical to the same Wookiee from 1977. But you said the same thing as I did, which was you hear Lando before you see Lando, and in my head I was like, holy crap, that sounds like Billy D.
Yeah.
And you're like, hello, what do we have here?
Yeah,
like, I was just like, oh my god.
Well, our buddy Damien, we were talking to him, he feels like they worked extra hard on those first 2 lines, because that's like sort of like perception. It like, once you hear that, you're in. You know? It's
right.
just, I don't know. I had a...
You did have 2 conflicting things there, because you had somebody who was completely dialed in and great, and you're like, yeah, that I believe he is young Lando Calrissian.
Yes.
100%.
Yes.
And then it's like, but I don't believe that that's Han Solo for a moment.
Yeah, and like, okay, people saying I'm being ridiculous for having that issue, but screw you. I'm having that issue. It's like, it is what it is. So, what are you doing? You're showing me your time?
Yes. No.
I can see the time right there.
Oh, I didn't. That's what I was looking.
I'll talk about this until I get it out of my system. I'll be here for a while. I don't care.
It's like most bowel movements with me. I'm going to talk about this till I get it out of my system.
But the other thing is, the thing that makes Star Wars attractive to me is the fantasy element of it. Mm-hmm. Like, Star Wars doesn't particularly do sci-fi better than anyone else. Star Wars puts this other thing in it, the Force,
right?
You know what I mean, and this impossible technology, and that's what makes it attractive to me. Like, just seeing like a regular smuggler story is not really my cup of tea, and I thought like maybe this should have been like a Netflix show or something, you know, like or a cartoon or whatever. But to have this be a whole movie, it almost feels like just like a waste. But look, I saw it. I don't ever have to watch it again, but we are going to have to watch it again, and this is why. And this is what I wanted to talk about. I believe, and I was, after I got home from the movie theater and I was wiping the filth of this movie off of my skin, I was in the shower and I was like, oh, that's totally what they're doing. Since Maul is in here, this is now going to be part of a Marvel-esque shared universe, I believe. I believe there's going to be a Solo-verse. that the characters in this movie are going to carry on to a bunch of other anthology movies. So we thought we were going to get like a solo ObiWan movie and a solo Boba Fett movie. Those are not going to be standalones. Those are going to all exist within this continuity. So obviously we know from this movie that Han is going to go to Tatooine because they only said it about half a dozen times.
And I'm bringing my dice.
Yeah. But we know that we know that Obi-Wan's on Tatooine.
Right.
So we know that at some point there's going to be a clash between Maul and Obi-Wan again.
Right.
So, and we know that, you know, Boba Fett is an associate of Jabba's, so it's only safe to assume that this is going to be all in this timeline, and what they're doing is they're going to make a whole other series of movies that basically bridges this timeline and ends with Rogue One.
Right. Well, I mean, and they can do the same thing that they've been doing. Like the Marvel standalone movies have not become standalones anymore. They're like buddy movies. Like Thor Ragnarok had Hulk.
Yeah.
You know,
and Thor Ragnarok dovetails into Infinity War.
And what is it? Civil War? No, not Civil War. Winter Soldier.
Yeah.
Winter Soldier is Captain America and I was gonna say Black Canary, Black Widow.
Yeah.
But you know what I mean? Like they're buddying up people. So yeah, could there be another movie with, you know, Han on Tatooine and Obi-Wan Kenobi? Maybe.
No, there's going to be, I think.
You know, or but then that would screw with
what?
The fact that they never met each other.
But Chewbacca sort of knows Obi-Wan, and Chewbacca knows who Obi-Wan is.
That's true.
You know what I mean? Like
Chewbacca.
Yeah. So, and you know,
they commented on the fact that Lando mispronounces Han.
It's Han. It's Han. Oh, that was the thing that was the eye roll for me in the movie is that just like The Last Jedi, or even like The Last Jedi had like the list of Hollywood agenda that it had to check off. Like, you know,
Sorry.
Okay, we have girls are great, guys are stupid, go vegan,
right?
You know, all this stuff
go
like
vegan.
Yeah,
Rose was just wearing a T-shirt that said "Go vegan."
Yeah. No,
Don't beat a horse.
It was all
Ride
this,
a cowboy.
All this stuff, just like Justice League said. Oh, look, it's lighthearted. We have less destruction. We have this.
Batman smiles.
Yeah, in this movie we had this writer was so clever that he was just like, oh look, this is why Han shoots first. This is why he shot first, because he learned to shoot first from his mentor.
Right.
You get it? You get it? Oh, this is why.
Oh, and he made his blaster. Oh.
Yeah, like it was just like, oh, and this is how the Kessel Run happened. It's just, and it was like all the there was another one. But I can't remember what it was. But like anyway, it was like going through a list of things that like people wanted to fix, you know, but they were doing it in sort of like a snotty way. It just rubbed me the wrong way. I was like, okay, now we're gonna do this, and this is why we're doing the Kessel Run. Okay, and this is why we're doing. This is how we get to Falcon. Okay,
and I mean, I don't think we've talked about this like on all this stuff, but like. Not a lot, but I mean, we talked about it on Justice League, where it's like we are now as a public aware of like directors changing, rewrites happening, reshoots happening, and stuff like that. And this movie had a bunch too. Mm-hmm. You know, they changed directors. Like Ron Howard came on later after they had shot and written stuff.
Also, no, this is not a comment on Ron Howard.
Yeah.
Ron Howard was like Phil Spector with Let It Be here. Like they hired him, you know, to basically save a project that was in the toilet, and he basically like was able to finish it efficiently and put something out.
And do you know what I forgot? I remember I knew it beforehand, forgot, and then looked it up again after we saw the movie. I completely forgot that Dryden Voss, that was it. So
Vision.
Vision, Paul Bettany's character, was Omar from The Wire before they changed directors.
Really?
Yes, he was cast, and then when they brought on Ron Howard and changed writers, he was like, I'm out.
Wow.
I was like, oh my god, Omar would have been in the Star Wars universe. Dryden Voss coming and just people just run away. But like, it's just I like little things like that, and the fact that we're like super aware of that because of social media and everything like that, like that I feel like ruins it. Because if I went into this movie not knowing stuff about all the problems and rewrites, same thing with like Justice League, like I may have enjoyed it a little bit more because I wasn't going in there with an expectation. It was just like, I'm excited to see a new Star Wars movie. Let's do this.
What was your favorite thing and least favorite thing about the movie?
I would say my favorite part of the movie was Lando, just because he nailed it, and he nailed it in a way where he didn't seem like he was forcing it. Like, I'm Lando, I have a room full of capes.
Yeah.
Like, it just, I don't know, it just seemed natural. Like, no, he would totally have a bedroom just full of capes. I enjoyed that, and again, I enjoyed the crimey element of it. Like, we were seeing like slums of planets and stuff like that, and you know, that kind of thing. And again,
I'll agree with that.
And it was also like you said, like it was also like over here, like Empire, Jedis, all that kind of stuff. Nobody mentioned a Jedi once except when Maul came on the screen, but like over here enough where it was like, you know, except then when like Maya Rudolph came on the screen and she was like, "We're part of the rebellion." Wasn't Maya Rudolph? Was Empty Nest? Emphas Nest, the chick in the desert.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And it was just like, no, we're connected to something grander. We're fighting back, and you're like, oh, there it is.
Yeah.
So I like that. The thing I hated the most was Lando's Lando's droid L6, and her whole like weird, I'm liberating droids. Like,
that was really like, and it just was put in like an afterthought. Like, oh, we didn't hit the agenda hard enough, so let's add some lines that like fell flat.
Right.
They fell flat. Like they didn't affect anything, and basically, you know, she dies, and it was like, oh, Lando is trying to have sex with her, and then like
so
Khaleesi asks the droid, like, you know, where does Lando put his wiener? And she was like, don't worry about it. And I was like, oh, great, I'm glad we're having this conversation in Star Wars. Because to me, I'm sorry, Star Wars is non-sexual. I mean, there's like flirtation, but like sex is something that happens off screen and babies happen from it.
Right.
That's what happens in Star Wars. That's the template that George laid out, and people are just like, no, this is 2018, and everything is terrible.
Look,
so
in the Star Wars universe, babies happen when you roll around in the grass.
Yeah, exactly.
On Naboo.
And you awkwardly look at each other. And that's conception. But the thing is, like, after all that stuff, like they stepped on their own toes, because Lando's like, yeah, she's like that, but I can't wipe her droid because she got navigational charts, and I can't wipe her mind.
Yeah.
And then he's like, oh wait, I can just put her in the ship and have to deal with her crap. So
all right, wait. So you have C-3PO and R2-D2. R2-D2 is like a sass mouth, but you never understand what he's saying, so it's okay. 3PO has his own personality and says stuff at the wrong times, whatever. So we have those, sure, right? Then you get into Rogue One, and you have K2. Mm-hmm. And they give him a thing. It's like, oh, when we reprogrammed him, something happened with his circuits, and now he just says stuff. Mm-hmm. Lando's droid is just like she's just like a sass factory for no reason. And you're like, why is a droid like that? I don't. Like, I understand there's different kinds of droids in the universe.
The funny thing, though, the contradictory statement they were making with this movie is that, look, this droid is super woke, right?
Yeah.
But Lando says, it's because she's broken. He says, she's malfunctioning, and I can't reboot her because she has too much data that I need. Okay. Right? So it's like, what's the message that you're sending then? That anybody who thinks like that, there's something wrong with them?
Yeah,
that's the message.
I didn't even think of that.
Like that's the message I got. Like, I'm like, oh, there's that character I was talking about. And that was the thing that, you know, I was worried about going to the movies. Like, I don't want to be beaten over the head with this. But it really was like not even a big deal.
Right.
Like, I was like, oh, this is an eccentric, like, weirdo droid. Whatever. And then he's like, yeah, she's messed up. She's glitchy, but I can't wipe her brain because I need those nav charts. And then the funniest thing is, like, she's in the ship now. I guess I didn't have to deal with her loud-mouthing the whole time.
Right.
And it's like, and now she's... But that was also, like, kind of crappy. It's like, hey, guess what? You know that robot you hate? She's in all the movies now. She's part of the ship. So screw you, fanboys.
Right.
My least favorite and worst... My favorite and least favorite, I think... I like Lando. I thought the Chewie stuff was pretty good. I kind of rolled my eyes when he ripped the arms out of the socket. I was like, of course you have to hit that beat.
Right.
Like why? Like, oh my god, that was like cringe for me. But I still liked, like, when he walked into the shower. I knew it was happening.
Right.
I knew it was going to happen. I just liked him being, you know, like, spry and running around and doing stuff.
Okay, I will say that too. It was really nice to see Chewbacca running around.
Yeah.
And doing stuff.
Yeah. I liked that. I hated that he spoke Shriwook, that Han spoke Shriwook.
Oh, yeah.
I was like, how long? Like, this is a terrible joke, and you're still doing it.
Yeah.
I was like, oh my god. And first of all, that's stupid. That shouldn't happen. That's stupid. But the biggest, like,
that's also a really bad joke that exists in a lot of things where, like, somebody speaks a terrible, really terrible, like, language, like somebody trying to speak Spanish to somebody
Yeah.
else, and you see like the subtitles like
Yeah.
I family hamburger, like, and you're just like, no, come on, like that's a dead, like you're beating a dead Wookiee.
But I think my least favorite thing was the train. Why are there trains?
Yeah, I got a text message from you like 3 hours after we saw the movie. It was like 2 a.m. and it just says, "Why are there trains in space?" And it was just like,
Why?
I don't know.
You know why? I'll tell you why. Because the writers were sitting around and saying, "Oh, this is like a heist movie. Let's put a train heist in a place where they don't need trains.
Look,
for anything."
Firefly.
I'm so glad you mentioned that.
Needs trains because those planets are not, some planets are not as developed as other planets. So they may not be able to have a shipping port where, you know, stuff like that. They need to transport this from this side to this side, and they don't have money for a spaceport, but they could make a train station. Like, or, you know, I get that. And, yeah, one of the best episodes of Breaking Bad, Season 5. They robbed the methylamine from the train. Train heists are cool. But not necessary here. Like, you could, like, why not, like, we're breaking into the factory where they refine it, and we're stealing unrefined stuff.
But you just brought up something that was interesting. The issue is that, like, Star Wars doesn't do... You made me think... we haven't talked about this.
I know.
We've been saving it for this. And I'm glad that we're talking about it.
We're glad we're talking about it with all of you.
Yeah, no, but you're making me think of this in different ways that make me like some things better. Like, you know what? I'm with you. I like that we got to see the underworld and the way it works. Like, I thought that was interesting, and I've always wanted that.
Yeah.
I just didn't want it to be
associated with Han
to
Solo.
Han Solo because it doesn't make sense to me, and it's weird. You know what I mean? It's like, yes, I get it. Disney is like trying to do familiarity and just say, oh, these are characters you know. We're just doing characters. I'm like, but to be honest, like, Firefly kind of does this a little better than Star Wars.
Yeah.
Just like, you know, the political thing, Battlestar Galactica does kind of better than Star Wars. Star Wars is not the end-all, be-all of all sci-fi.
Right.
Star Wars is a very specific thing that it does very well, and that is adventure, like fantasy adventure.
Right.
You know what I mean? And, like...
There's and it makes sense because they're space westerns.
Right.
I don't remember if we've ever talked about it, but, like, A New Hope is a space western.
Yeah.
It's this galaxy ain't big enough for the two of us. That's exactly what it is, and that's exactly what it is. And you go from, you know, if you go through movie history, you have westerns, then you have like swashbuckling movies, then you have like horror movies. Like, there are all these things, and then Star Wars came along and started making these science fiction like you know, adventure movies. Mm-hmm. That's exactly what they are, but they're not super science fiction-y in the fact that you're like, okay, wait, I don't understand. So, like, the Omega system is, you know, it's like, but they're digging now into, like, their slums.
Yeah.
And
which is cool, but it's just like, Firefly does that better than you.
Yeah.
It's like, also, I just would have liked to have seen, maybe, I think the biggest problem with this movie for me is Solo. Like, I kind of would have rather have him been a cameo and had this been about somebody else, and, you know, just like, because, like, for example, like, I was having this discussion with my cousin Phil afterwards, and he was saying, yeah, man, you're just done with Star Wars, because he liked it. And I was like, I didn't like it, you know. He goes, yeah, you don't like Star Wars anymore. I was like, but I love Rebels. He goes, that's true, and there's more Rebels shows than there are movies. Mm-hmm. Right? So I love what they're doing at Rebels because it's new characters, and the main characters we know, like, just intersect with them. They brush up against them every once in a while. But it's like there's this new thing, new personalities. You can explore new stuff, not instead of trying to, like, oh, we have to stay on this narrow path. And then, because then the things you do change, and the times you do, like, run into the canon, you're going to piss people off.
Right.
You know what I mean? So, and that's the other thing, is that I really don't think that Lucasfilm is handling this the best way. Basically, they're pissing people off, and they're saying, like, instead of being diplomatic about it, saying, like, look, we're trying new things with this. We can't make everybody happy, but we're just trying to do our best to bring you the best content we can. Their attitude is, screw you. That's what they're basically saying to people. Your time is over, hardcore fans. Screw you. And you know what? With the hardcore fans at this time, yeah, all right. And then now the movie is tanking because it's not because of, it's not, and I feel bad because it's not even because of how good or bad this movie is. It's about how the fans are being treated. You can't, like, Star Wars is bulletproof to a certain extent, but, like, when George Lucas did this stuff, it was pure from the frickin' source. And George Lucas was trying to make the best movie he could, right? Whether you liked it or not, you always got the sense that, like, this dude is pulling out all the stops. And even when people complain, like, oh, too much CG, too much, right? Yeah, this guy's throwing everything he has into these movies. The finale is two guys fighting in the air over lava,
right?
Of his 6 movies. You know what I mean? Like, and then Palpatine literally throws the Senate at Yoda. Like, the things that everybody wanted to see, it's like, here you go. And he's put everything into it. With this one, it just feels like they're purposely not doing things just to like, stick it to the fans. And I know I sound just like a bitter fanboy right now, but the thing that, the kick in the teeth about it is that, like, instead of saying, okay, we tried this, you didn't like it, they're like, you're wrong. Your time is over. It's all about this, this, and this now, and screw you. And the fans said, "Oh yeah," and they didn't show up. You know, and I'm not gonna go see this movie like my normal 5 times I would go see a Star Wars movie.
Right.
Once is enough, and I'm probably not gonna buy it on Blu-ray.
That's a lie.
What?
That's a lie.
No, I don't need. Well, my wife will buy it on Blu-ray, so it'll end up in the house. But the only way they're gonna make me watch this movie again is if the next movie they do is an ObiWan movie that it takes place after this, because then I'm going to have to go back and remind myself what happened.
Right.
But I have no desire to watch this again.
All right, so the thing with Star Wars is that it's generational, right?
Yeah.
And you and I sound like, no, we're purists, and this is messing with this and stuff like that. It's generational, and the direct example I'll give you is your nieces.
Yeah.
They're aware of Star Wars because you like Star Wars.
Yeah.
So you're exposing them to Star Wars, and they may like it on their own, or they may not. But that's how this works.
They don't.
But so that's how most of this stuff works. So when you're taking a universe like this or franchise like this, it's weird saying franchise because it makes it sound like it's like a burger.
An Arby's.
Yeah. When you're taking a franchise like this and you are trying to appeal to a new generation of it, this new generation has to be exposed to it some way. Parents have to take their children to the movies. You know, parents have to buy movies for them to watch at home, you know, or to stream or whatever. So when you start alienating the parents, you're now going to start alienating the children because they're not exposed to it as well. And I think the mistake or the misstep that they're making is that Star Wars was bulletproof. Star Wars was a cash cow, and Star Wars continued to remain in popularity 30 years after it premiered, and still remain.
And with like 13-year gaps in between them putting anything out.
Right. Now you're oversaturating the market, and what you're doing is you're like, no, we have an unstoppable juggernaut, and we're telling you that it's you know like unflappable, like we can't miss, versus letting it happen. Like the Marvel Universe right now, unstoppable juggernaut, but it actually happened organically. They did Iron Man, they did the mention of the Avengers as sort of a setup, but as sort of a joke, just to see what the fans would react to. And then they started doing it more and more, and people were like, no, give me. And they did it. And that was the thing with DC. DC started doing it, and then now Star Wars, I feel like, is backpedaling. You kill Han Solo in The Force Awakens as, you know, like as a huge plot point. And then they talk about him in The Last Jedi, and you're like, but we killed him. And then it's like, but don't you love Han Solo? Here's more Han Solo.
Right.
And it's like, why are you moving backwards?
Yeah.
Like, do what you did with Marvel and just explore new things. But I think the problem is that they have an expanded universe and they have stuff to pull from, but they have to make new stuff. Marvel has the toy box to pull from. They're just pulling it in the right way.
Yeah, I just can't help but feel like...
I'm sorry about that. That was a rant, but that's
it was good.
That's really
good.
how I feel about this.
You're
trying too hard.
No, they're not trying too hard. They're being too clever, and they're mismanaging the property. That's my issue with it. It's like, I'm sorry, but Star Wars is an adventure movie, about the Skywalkers, and when you have The Last Jedi, which is the movie about Luke Skywalker refusing to go on an adventure, it's like, what do you think is going to happen?
Right.
It's like you're being too clever for your own good. You're showing your fan base, the people that come out to see the movies, the people that buy the toys, that buy the comics, that buy the games, that watch the TV shows.
Toys.
Right? The people that buy the clothes, all that stuff. Like, Star Wars is a merchandising, it's a beast. It's huge. But you're showing those people, we don't care what you think.
Right.
And it's a very powerful message.
It's stronger and more powerful.
It is. Look, my complaint that I always make is, instead of screwing with the old characters, just do new stuff. And then everybody tells me, no, but who cares? Who's going to care about, anybody who's not a Skywalker, anybody who's not a Solo or a Kenobi? Who's going to care about that? And my answer to that is, play the game Knights of the Old Republic. The thing is, I feel like there are two groups of people. There are people who have played the Knights of the Old Republic and people who haven't. Because people who haven't can't fathom Star Wars being not in this, whatever it is, 60-year time period of the life of Darth Vader. You know what I mean? Or even the life of the Skywalker line. You know what I mean? Like, people can't fathom Star Wars existing outside of that. Whereas everything that they put out happens from the beginning of Phantom Menace until whenever, Kylo Ren's going to die.
Right.
Right? So, it's like, people can't think it's only this 1 year and that's the movie. No, like, what you really got to do is, even if you're not a gamer, go play Knights of the Old Republic. It's for PC. It's for, you can get it on iOS now. There's plenty of ways to play it.
Mm-hmm.
It's the closest thing you will get to a Star Wars movie that hits all the marks. Like, every single mark that has no characters you've ever heard of in it.
Yep.
It takes place 4,000 years before New Hope. So...
And it's just, and that, honestly, that is stuff that I would like to go see, because I like this universe.
Mm-hmm.
I like what happens in this universe. I like the Jedi. I like the fact that there is, good and bad and balancing the Force and all that kind of stuff. And I like the technology that some of it is clunky, but some of it is super sleek. And, it feels very real. Like, they always say it's a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. Like, but it feels immersive. Like, it feels like you could be there.
That's my favorite thing about it. That that's what you
like. I never thought I would be in a Star Trek universe.
Yeah.
Everything is too sleek. Everything is weird. There's so many, like, I know there's aliens and stuff like that, but it's just like it's too far fetched for me to believe that I could, like, go to a store in there or go to a restaurant or everything about the future for me involves food.
I just like that George Lucas made it this. He kept growing it, right? And he kept saying that it's for everybody. Like, maybe he didn't say that, but, like, for example, like, they encouraged, like, people to put YouTube videos up of stuff that they made, and George Lucas would have a fan film competition every year where people would make Star Wars fan films and he would judge it. You know what I mean? It's like it was a sandbox for everybody to play in, and it was big enough for a comic book writer to write something that had nothing to do with anything, or a game developer or whatever. And I feel like what Disney is doing is making it less inclusive, and they're shrinking it, and they're saying, no, that's not part of this, that's not part of this, that's not part of this, and no, this is what it is. It's this concentrated, very, very concentrated thing. It's Stormtroopers, it's the Galactic Civil War, it's the Skywalker family, and all these little things and all the little lines. Like, we're not gonna, instead of, like, trying to do something completely original, we're gonna say the next movie is gonna be a throwaway line. We're gonna talk about this movie is the Emperor dissolving the Senate, because they said that in the movie, and we have to talk about that.
Right.
And you can't imagine how that went off camera. We have to see it because there's no such thing as a throwaway line anymore. It's like that bounty hunter at Ord Mantell. Now we're gonna see that in the middle in a movie.
Right.
We're gonna see many Bothans died. It's like every throwaway line. Like, because that's what all these movies, like, Rogue One is a movie based on the throwaway line.
Right.
This is based on a throwaway line, or the throwaway idea, whatever.
Right. And even though Vader is in Rogue One, and even though most of the movie has Grand Moff Tarkin in it and stuff like that, that actually felt more separated than than Solo did to me, because it was new characters that I didn't know. I knew the outcome of what they were doing. Like, I know that the Death Star plans eventually get to Leia, but I don't know how. So I'm enjoying this ride with people that I've never seen before, people that are aware of what's going on over there, You know, yes, they're directly connected. Yes, it had to do with building the Death Star and stuff like that. But here, the problem I have with movies that do younger versions or flashbacks and stuff of characters that we already know exist, there's no stakes for me. During that whole train heist, I didn't care because I know Chewbacca's not going to die. I know Han Solo's not going to die, and I don't care about their friends enough.
But then, how do you reconcile? This is devil's advocate here. The prequels, because you knew who was going to come out of that alive.
You knew that ObiWan was going to come out of it alive. You knew Anakin was going to come out of it alive. You knew Padme. Actually, no. I'll say I didn't. They don't mention that. You know, they don't mention the mother. It's like you know, we know we know Luke had one. Luke and Leia had one, but we don't know how.
Because I feel like the difference is that was a story worth telling. Because like when Obi-Wan tells the story to Luke in his hut, he's like,
right.
You know, like, that ain't the story. Like, he's telling you the story.
But that ain't it.
He's like, you know, that's not what happened. You know? And the thing is that, like, whereas it's not a throwaway thing. It's, no, something massive happened, right? Like, in Game of Thrones, right? In Game of Thrones, they always talk about Robert's Rebellion, right? And it's like, if they made a movie of it, it would actually be worth making a movie of it because, like, no, this is big, huge event that happened that everybody refers to. It's a common frame of reference.
Right.
What these movies are doing is saying, like, oh, it's these smaller events that weren't important enough to make it into any of George Lucas's movies.
Right.
But Rogue One was done very well, even though I don't hate Rogue One. I just don't. Because it's not part of the stuff I like with the lightsabers and the Force and the Jedi and the Sith. Like, that's the stuff I'm really interested in. And because that's not really a big part of it, it doesn't really hold that much interest or rewatchability for me. I'm glad it exists. You know what I mean? It's good and it's good. It's well done. This movie, I don't think it added anything. I don't understand why it's even a thing. I guess it's fine.
Like how as we're wrapping up here, it's like I guess it's fine, and we didn't just yell about it for an hour.
Yeah, so in other words, we liked it.
Go see Solo. Everybody should see it. It's a great addition to the Star Wars universe.
I did okay. I'll just end with this. I'll end with this.
God,
it really doesn't. As much as I want to bitch about it, it doesn't really.
Go ahead. Tell Vader how you feel.
Wait, this. Well, that's his choky hand. So, I just, even though, like, it seeks to change, like, the way you view the original movies,
right? I'm
probably not going to watch it again, and I'll hopefully forget about it soon, and it won't, and it just, for me, it just didn't do anything, that's all. It just didn't do anything for me. That's it. Do I hate it? I thought I hated it first because I wasn't given that, like, totally blown away Star Wars feeling I usually get after seeing those movies. Like, wow, I just witnessed, like, a spectacle, an epic thing. But I just, whatever, it exists, and I have really no strong good or bad feelings about it.
I've got a good feeling about this. I've got a bad feeling about it.
And what's your closing statement?
Where are my dragons? Yeah. Sorry, Amelia Clark.
All right, I love you, but thank you for listening to what might be the last episode of Band Geek. Yeah, so bottom line, check out Solo. And if you make stuff, don't crap on your fans, because they will revolt and you will feel their wrath. Oh, let's do like a video here. Let's rehash something.
So we mentioned earlier that Darth Maul was in Solo, which was very cool. A while ago we did our own version of one of my favorite John Williams pieces ever written, from Phantom Menace. Go rewatch the prequels. I think you'll appreciate them more now.
Yes.
So here's a little Duel of the Fates, Band Geek style. Yes, it's us singing. Yes, it's Latin.
Okay, let's see if I can. No, it's Sanskrit.
Oh, sorry, Sanskrit.
Let's see if I can pull this off.